Call the meeting of the Caledonia Community Schools July 28th regular meeting to order. Please stand and honor our country with the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone, and I say welcome everyone, and I see a lot of teachers. It's great to see all of you here tonight. Appreciate you coming and showing us you're here. Katie Esich, our secretary and long-serving board member, has moved out of the district. And once we have a full board appointed and voted on, we will be taking action in the August regular meeting to appoint a secretary or to elect a secretary, should say. Until that time, I have appointed Jessica Cohn as secretary pro temp and would ask her to please call the roll.
Robert Garcia. Here. Brando.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Cohn. Here. Morris.
Here.
Nichols. Here.
Thank you. On to item number 4, public comment. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express their views. Please limit your statement to 3 minutes. Participants shall direct comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. No person may address or question board members individually. The board cannot accept public comment regarding personnel issues. All personnel issues are to be referred to the superintendent for resolution. Remarks should be made in a respectful and professional manner. And our first is James Ernest.
When I was in first grade, Mrs. McMeans was very gentle in her rebukes when she caught me and cute little Terry Crocker kissing on the playground during recess. In third grade, Mrs. Stockdale read us Charlotte's Web. In 7th grade, Mr. Baker yelled at us ferociously and inflicted corporal punishments because we boys were a little bit rowdy in phys ed class. Imagine that. And then the next day taught us one of the most important lessons of our whole education when he came back and apologized and asked our forgiveness. Also in 7th grade, Mrs. Stallard taught us to diagram sentences and taught us every tense, voice and mood for regular and irregular verbs in the English language. Also in 7th grade, Mrs. Fannie Mae Gillum taught us about 10 different Latin verbs that mean to kill, and that was like in the first 6 weeks. We thought it was great. In 11th grade, Miss Lambert took our little debate team to tournaments all across the state. Miss Mann sat while she gave us written assignments to do in our literature class and read Mark Twain stories to herself, giggling uncontrollably all the way through, teaching us in her own way to love literature. My point here is that I remember all of my teachers from my school years, grades 1 through 12. They were some of the most important people in my life. I am very grateful to them and grateful for what they did. I think many of us would say the same things about your teachers, our teachers. These are people who are dear to us because they pour their lives into us and help form us into the human beings that we become. Here in Caledonia, we are grateful for our teachers. I don't have details from the inside of negotiations that are happening currently, I just want you to know that I think we all want our teachers to be treated with respect and with generosity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ernest. Next, we have Beth.
I'm not a public speaker, so I apologize, but I'm a great volunteer in the district. It is a great concern for several parents in our district, the lack of communication and accessibility to speak with someone during summer break. I have made numerous calls shortly after the school year had ended to not have phones answered during the published summer hours. I also had left a message, or maybe it was two, and never got a call back. No, it was not during the 4th of July holiday break. I actually had to go to the building and try to find someone to ask our questions. Because of summer break, the building was understandably a ghost town. However, we did find a nice custodian to direct us where to find someone to ask our questions. To better serve Caledonia's families and to display that you communicate well with us, it would be nice if somebody would actually answer the phones during the posted hours, return the messages left on voicemail, and also post signage for families of where exactly to go into the high school to get answers if you're not willing to have the phones answered. To expound on the district's lack of communication issue, it's been maddening for us KCTC families to try to get answers. I personally called the high school 1.5 weeks ago, at least 5 times with no answer. And also know of other parents that had tried to call for other questions with no one answering phones. So I decided to call this building, the administration building, and I listened to the prompts and chose the appropriate operator prompt. No one answered. I called, I believe, 2 more times using the operator extension to get the same result. Out of frustration, I called again, but chose the superintendent option because why not go to the top when no one answers anywhere else? Michelle answered, and she too did not have the answers to our questions. However, she was willing to listen and give me another phone number to call and try to get answer about KCT's transportation for the week of August 18 when the high school is not in session yet. She even called back later with the information she had gotten concerning the Skill Center transportation. Thank you, Michelle. Since my initial calls to this building, I learned that a couple of other KCT families are in the same boat, and I asked Michelle to ask whoever is responsible for communicating with Caledonia's KCT families to send out communication, as we are all wondering what we're going to do for transportation. I would think it would be protocol and also doing the courteous thing to communicate with families that this impacts. It is better for this information to come from the district rather than a new to KCT's family and what's expected of students during the unmatched start date of the school years. I don't know who all is going to Skill Center, and it's not my job to inform others, as I'm not your employee. You expect our children to communicate such things with you. Why doesn't it go both ways? It is very rude and inconsiderate to leave these families in the dark about what's going on. Please do the right thing and keep KCTC families in the loop of what's going on. Since writing this, I did receive an email from Mrs. Durkee this morning. The person that was responsible for the KCTC, she notified me that the person responsible for the KCTC communication will not be back in office until August 11th. This is unreasonable because families that need to make plans, they're scrambling. We don't know what to do. Okay, I ended this poorly in my writing, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for your time.
We will have somebody get back to you for certain.
Not just me, all the families, please.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Demuse. Welcome back.
Thank you, it's good to see you. My name is Susan Demuse, and my family and I have very strong ties to the Caledonia Community Schools. My husband Ken is a retired Caledonia middle school teacher of more than 30 years, and both our children received their education, K-12 in Caledonia. I finished my teaching career as an elementary teacher at Kettle Lake. I had the privilege of working with Chris Warren as my principal. He always said, he always takes care of his teachers to ensure that the students are well taken care of. He believed this not only because he was a kind and empathetic man, but he was an excellent administrator. Chris Warren valued teachers. Isn't that what our community and you, our community representatives, should be doing too? Valuing teachers as professionals, many with multiple degrees, years of experience, and hours of continuing education. Valuing teachers' time and energy it takes to do our jobs. Valuing teachers with proper monetary compensation. Valuing the impact that teachers have on the lives of the children in this community. As you negotiate with our Caledonia teachers, as our community representatives for our schools, I challenge you to be like Chris Warren. Come from a place of respect for the professionals that are here in Caledonia. Come from a place of empathy for the need that teachers have to maintain the work-life balance. Come from a place of understanding that the profession of teaching should be well compensated. Families are still moving here to Caledonia for our school system. And at the heart of our school system are our excellent teachers. Let us make sure that we provide and honor our teachers so they in turn continue to provide for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'll say this, I'll speak for the board and say that the history of the board is we've had a good relationship with our teachers, and as we've negotiated, and you can expect the same from us moving forward. Next, we have Bob Phelan.
Good evening. I'm here to inform the board and Caledonia parents about the results of the Mahmoud versus Taylor Supreme Court case and its implications for this district. The court yet again recognized the rights of parents to direct the education and religious upbringing of their own children. They uphold the rights of parents to opt out of books and other classroom materials that are hostile to parents' religious beliefs because this material, quote, exerts upon children a psychological pressure to conform to their specific viewpoints, unquote. They also make clear that schools have to inform parents of when and where the religiously offensive material is taught. Embedding these topics throughout the curriculum does not dissolve the school from creating a pathway for parents to opt their child out. Unfortunately, this puts a burden on our teachers to know exactly when and where it appears in their curriculum throughout the day and be able to provide that information to parents in advance. Caledonia's own law firm, Troon Law, stated in its June newsletter, providing parents with notice before using curriculum materials that may conflict with some religious beliefs and an opportunity for the parents to opt their parent students out of that instruction may prevent litigation, unquote. It goes on to say that the school should review curriculum and opt-out policies before the upcoming school year begins. This is a huge task. This Troon Law letter confirms that the Supreme Court decision means public schools must uphold the First Amendment rights of parents or risk lawsuits and court costs from both sides, by the way. Why does this matter tonight? The board's starting to choose a new school board member. The person you select has to understand and accept that they're legally obligated to uphold the Constitution, including protecting parental rights per this court case. Otherwise, they put this school district and themselves in legal jeopardy. Also, it's the board's responsibility to understand the legal ramifications of what they bring into the schools, including textbooks. The board has a well-defined list of criteria to accept or reject a textbook, which includes freedom from bias and impact on community standards. This court decision shows that the board needs to take this seriously, which they did in a recent textbook review. Turns out that book in question also had embedded material that would not pass the hostility of religious beliefs standards of this court case. So textbook approval is not a no-brainer decision, as one former member suggested. Finally, this board has group norms that ask its members to show respect and never dismiss or devalue others, which I assume should include their social media posts. This standard was violated repeatedly in the past, and hopefully you'll carefully choose a candidate who believes this type of behavior falls well below the ethical standards expected of a school board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thalen. Next, we have Chris McKenna.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Chris McKenna. Andrea and I are the proud parents of 4 fighting Scots, ages 13 to 20, and I'm concerned about Caledonia's technology policies. Professionally, I'm the founder of Protect Young Eyes, a nationally recognized digital safety organization. I've spoken globally from the World Economic Forum in Switzerland to Capitol Hill about the impacts of social media, educational technology, and AI on childhood. I'm here tonight with 3 specific requests. Number 1, remove personal electronics from passing and cafeteria time in the high school. Number 2, pass a resolution that encourages responsible and limited screen time in classrooms. And number 3, allow parents to opt in to all uses of AI in the classroom. First, the removal of personal electronic devices from passing and cafeteria time in the high school. You might remember a similar request from Jill Thompson last month. We already have strong, consistently enforced bell-to-bell policies in grades K through 8, especially in Duncan Lake. Why not continue this approach in high school? A Common Sense Media study showed that 41% of teens have viewed pornography during the school day. Another study from the University of California showed it takes over 23 minutes to refocus after checking a smartphone. Because of the work of my friend, Dr. Jonathan Haidt, entire countries, U.S. states, and thousands of schools have made the bold and common sense decision to remove access to personal electronics from the school day. Every school that does this experiences benefits, including shifts in behavior, improved grades, decreases in bullying, and according to many schools, laughter and conversation in the cafeteria once again. Second, pass a resolution that encourages responsible and limited screen time in education unless it offers clear, evidence-based advantages. Every parent I've spoken to about the use of Google Classroom and Chromebooks in Caledonia schools wishes they were used less. According to a study by Internet Safety Labs, 96% of tech used in classrooms sells student data. A Science Direct report found that 38 of every 60 minutes spent on school laptops are off task. During a conversation with a teacher during conferences last year, I was told that one of my sons was sometimes distracted while using his Chromebook. I smiled. And then I imagined my 1990s history book with 25% of its pages being about baseball, porn, and video games, and Mr. Corser, my middle school teacher, getting upset if I was distracted. Our current approach to tech in the classroom demands reevaluation. Finally, allow parents to opt in to all uses of AI in classrooms. In May, School GPT, used by thousands of students, was tricked into giving an investigator from Forbes step-by-step instructions for manufacturing fentanyl. Last week, while using ChatGPT, a reporter from The Atlantic was told, "Hail Satan," and was encouraged to harm herself. In closing, our Cal Schools mission is empower and equip all persons to achieve their best by ensuring the highest quality system for learning. I invite the board to ask if our current approaches to personal devices, educational technology, and AI support this mission. I know your list of priorities this fall is long and onerous, but I stand ready to collaborate with you on these critical issues, including making changes to the handbook, which is on your agenda tonight. Thank you.
Next, we have Tammy Singleton.
Good evening. I have lived in Caledonia since 2009. My own children are adults that have graduated from Caledonia. And I have 3 nieces who also graduated, 3 nephews. Both of my sisters and their families also live in Caledonia. My children didn't stray far from us, and I'm thankful that I also now currently have 2 granddaughters that attend Paris Ridge Elementary. There's nothing, in my opinion, that is more impactful and important in a child's life than education. Nothing. And I am, for that reason, proud to be a resident of Caledonia. That's why we're here. That's why our children are here and our grandchildren. I am thankful for that. I think that's why we're all here, the Board of Education, our teachers, our bus drivers, our administrators. We all have that shared goal in mind of doing the best that we can for our children. And I know it's not an easy job. I'm an educator myself in a neighboring district. And I just wanted to take the time to say that I applaud you all for keeping the children in the forefront, doing what's best for them. And I appreciate that and recognize it as it's a passion of my own. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda. It's 5A, June 16, 2026 regular meeting minutes. B, June 2025 payables. And 5C, July 2025 personnel report. Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Thank you, John. Any discussion? Let me call the vote.
Bever Garcia,
Yes.
Brandau,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Cone, yes. Morris,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. On to number 6, superintendent report.
All right, just a couple of items today because I know we have quite a few other things to discuss, but I'd like to invite Dr. Diaz to come up and update the board on some recent news from the AP.
Good evening. I am extremely excited to share that we have had another incredible year of success at Caledonia High School in our AP program. From AP Government to all of the AP offerings that we provide, we have seen a continued increase in the number of students who not only are taking AP courses, but those who are also passing at higher rates. This year, our AP Government students achieved a 98.6% passing rate, with 82% earning a 4 or a 5 on the exam, and 5 is the highest you can earn. So our students have continued to score at or above the national and state averages on every single one of the 30 AP learning targets. So we have to really recognize what this means, which is not only academic mastery, but real college savings. And so for many students, AP courses give them an opportunity to pass out of taking courses at the collegiate level, which multiply that by the cost dollar per credit that our current colleges and universities are charging, and that results in a substantial savings. So we are just very excited that we're continuing to expand our AP offerings. We're continuing to support students so that they can be successful in our AP courses. And again, their success in those AP exams that are taken, not graded by our staff, but tests that are given nationally. It's very exciting to see how well our students are performing. So hats off to our students and our amazing teachers who work with our kids across the board. Thank you.
If you could just leave that up there a second, just to point out a couple of things. First of all, we've discussed this before, but you can see that the number of AP exams taken continues to rise, as well as that percentage of students with the score that's considered passing, which is at least a 3 out of 5. So it's not that the numbers have shrunk and that's what's leading to better scores. It's more kids and higher achievement nonetheless. So I think that's well worth celebrating. So The only other item, thank you, Chrissy. The only other item I'd like to point out is that construction continues to move along rapidly, and we are nearing, it's hard to believe, here's August just around the corner. And so we have quite a few projects that are coming to a close here, and they're looking really good. So we are going to be announcing officially all the details for 2 ribbon cuttings here coming up within the next week or so, and those will be for the brand new Dutton Elementary School as well as for our stadium renovation. So watch for those coming up. Of course, Caledonia Elementary has been getting a complete makeover this summer. There is site work going on at Kettle Lake. There's just a lot of things happening, and it's great to see. So we look forward to welcoming all of our students and staff back here in a few weeks to some wonderful new facilities that the voters have helped to improve.
Any questions for our superintendent by the trustees? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is board trustee vacancy. This is one of the biggest honors I think a board could have, is to appoint another representative of the community. There's a process that we followed. The board is required by state law to complete the appointment process within 30 days, or in this case, to seat a new trustee no later than August 1st, 2025. The board began accepting appointment candidate applications on July 14th and concluded on July 25th. July 28th, application review, which is today, and tonight we'll be reviewing 14 applications. Conducting interviews, deliberation, and appointment to one applicant is due tomorrow, July 29, in a special meeting. If we can't agree on one by July 29, we'll have until the 30th, but let's hope we can. That candidate must accept and have the oath administered by August 1st, 2025. The district must then file with the clerk within 3 days of the Board of Ed's appointment and acceptance. And the candidate would serve until December 31st, 2026. Are there any questions from the board about the review process? Great. Then we'll get into candidate selection criteria. The state law does not determine how we set up the criteria and how we select a board candidate. So one option is to consider a rubric, which would be sort of a mathematical means of scoring the final selection. That's one side of it. The other side of that is another option to score the candidate based upon individual credentials, answers to questions, and how they presented themselves. So that is our first point of discussion, is how we're going to score or choose. So I'll open it up for trustee thoughts.
If I could interject before, so you should all have in front of you some compilation of some selection criteria that our office had first distributed and then just asked for you to review and send back individually. And so then that was compiled so that you could all see what your fellow board members held up as most important things. So this was just an attempt to try and help discussion tonight. And so that is there in front of you.
The criteria that was presented, I personally think it's good and solid and covering all the bases, and appreciate my fellow trustees' input. Is there any discussion to change the criteria, or are we comfortable with that in moving forward?
Just a clarifying question, would the criteria exist with the kind of friendly amendments that were made that are in front of us right now in color, just to clarify?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so, yes.
Okay.
Yes, good question. I'm not hearing any more about the criteria, so
Read through them just for the public,
sure.
just the big top points.
The first category is commitment to public education. Second category is experience, skills, contribution. Third, knowledge of education and district needs. Fourth, decision-making and judgment. Fifth, governance and collaboration. Sixth, communication and public engagement. And seven, commitment to serving students.
I'm personally comfortable with the criteria and the way that they are presented. I think that the amendments were reasonable. I think that the descriptions will help us to hopefully be able to choose a great candidate.
And everyone else comfortable? Jess, do you have any comments? Okay. Next step in the review process is reviewing the candidates. For the purpose of selection discussion tonight, please refer to the candidate by the designated alphabetical letter. However, when a motion is made to interview the candidate, please do so by name as well. The board has planned in allotments of 30 minutes for each candidate for questions, and tomorrow has limited time. We should consider how many candidates we would like to interview. I suggest we begin the process with each trustee selecting their top candidate choices, or if you have other suggestions. Okay. Good with that?
You wanna mention how many candidates?
I think I'd mention, I'm sorry, if I did mention, we have 14 candidates to consider tonight. We appreciate everyone's intention to interview. We're obviously not able to interview everyone, or we'd be here till Tuesday mid-morning. I should say Wednesday mid-morning, not tonight. So I'll start at the left end of the board with Sean.
So I think process-wise, what I'm gonna suggest, we prepared a little tally sheet here, and so as we go through this discussion, if you have like maybe your top candidates that you would like to put forward to be interviewed, we will tally that on this sheet here, and then at the end of our first go-round here, we'll see where everybody's at and how many of the board members feel that whichever candidate is among their top candidates to interview. And then I think that we'll see, hopefully, if we've got a pool that we're ready to work with. If you wanna go to the tally right now, or if we wanna have just general discussion
Well,
first,
I think we should
wanna get
just
set.
have general discussion first, for sure. I wanna make sure we have questions answered. This is new to the entire board. I've been on the board since 2013 in January, and I've not went through this process. So we wanna make sure it's as transparent and open as possible, and that the board has plenty of time to ask its questions.
So when you say top picks, are we looking at 2 to 3? Are we looking at 3 to 4? Like,
Well, I think that is up to you. With keeping in mind that we have a half an hour planned per candidate to interview tomorrow. And we provided kind of a culmination of the 22 questions we had into 6. We'll get to that and get to discussing and breaking that down. But yeah, there's no limit to the number of candidates. I wouldn't want anyone to feel that there's a limit. So,
And are we gonna vote on each nominee or just go through and get our top picks first and then go through each individually and vote?
we go through and tally and then,
Tally first.
So I have unfortunately gone through this a few times. I do think it works best if, there's general discussion and then we do kind of create a tally here, because then you can see how many candidates you're looking at. If it ends up being 8 to 10 candidates that are being put forward, then maybe we need further discussion on that, or you can decide to interview all 8 to 10. On the other hand, if 4 or whatever number rise to the top, then 4 rise to the top. So I think that's just something that you see going through this process here.
Well, any other Brittany, you look like you might have a question. Okay.
Questions? I'm ready.
Everyone ready? Sean, I go back to you and.
We're using the letters right now.
Correct.
Okay. I move that the board invite the.
I don't think we.
We're
No,
not
we're
gonna
not
move
moving
at this
I'm
point.
sorry, yeah,
Sorry.
I'm already ahead of myself again. Alright, candidate F.
You wanna share why? Or we just,
I think we'll discuss the candidate, we just wanna
One
get a
candidate.
sense for the town.
got it, okay.
Doing one, or are we doing?
You have one, just one, or do you have others?
For a couple?
Yeah, I can list off a couple.
Okay.
Sorry, I can list off a couple. G, H, J, and L.
Sorry, it's not like common for me to just like say the letter. I'd wanna like share so much more. I think we have some outstanding candidates. So anyway, the couple that I would hope to be inviting back would be candidate L, candidate C, candidate J, candidate D, candidate F.
Okay. Sorry. Jennifer?
So the candidates that I would like to see interviewed would be candidate C, candidate F, candidate I, and candidate H.
I'm gonna skip over myself and go to John.
I would say candidate F, J, and H.
I am gonna say candidates E, F, and H.
You said T,
E, T, E, F, and H.
and I will choose the F and H as well. So it looks like we have candidate F. This is the problem with glasses. It stops right about the screen distance. So we have candidate F with 6, candidate H with 5, candidate J with 3, candidate C with 2, candidate L with 2.
E also.
E with 2, and D with 1. So I think with this host of candidates, do we want to choose how many of these we'd like to interview? Like the top 3 or 4 vote getters? That's really about where we're next, unless you have another way of doing it. Dirk, what do you think? I mean, you've been through this.
Again, this is up to the boards.
Right.
Yeah, this is your call totally. I mean, if you want to interview, is that 9, all 9 of these, you can do that. But it's obviously some that everybody would like to see. And figure out where you wanna have that cut line be.
5 candidates have more than 1 vote. I think that's kinda like a top 5, good start.
There are 6,
Candidates.
6, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, missed one.
That's a good place to start.
Brittany, you believe top 6 for discussion?
Sure, I think that's reasonable, yeah.
6 if we end up interviewing would be 3 hours, which we owe it to the community for sure, but anyway, Jen?
only concern I have with that many candidates is being able to effectively compare them. So I guess just looking at the rubric, I wanna make sure that we're prepared to compare that many candidates.
Well, I don't think we had much input on how we were gonna evaluate the candidates, so we're gonna come back to that before we move any further with the number of candidates we're gonna interview. Or at least I think we should.
Again, that's where the selection criteria come into play, so based on the resumes, but then obviously it's the interview where that can be followed up on and ascertained more.
So I don't have a problem spending the 3 hours, but I would suggest that it might be, if we dropped the candidates that only received 2 votes, it would bring our pool down to 3. And we may be able to compare those 3 a little bit more deeply or effectively.
Mr. Brandau, what are your thoughts?
I kind of agree with Jennifer, but I'm open to all 6 of them as well. Do our due diligence.
Yes?
I'm kind of in the same camp. I think the fact that there was 2 or more people that nominated or selected that, I think we should probably do all 6 to give due diligence, proper due diligence.
So I'm totally fine with that. I just kind of wondered everybody's wanted to feel temperature on that, but I'm totally fine with that.
All right, and I'm good with that too. I think the bigger question is now, are we going to evaluate them with a rubric based upon what we have learned and seen? Or is there something in between that we want to use as a means of evaluation?
I think maybe one of the things that we could do now that we have if we are gonna go forward with this, right, with the top 6 candidates, is we could now, that we have an agreed upon rubric, evaluate each of the candidates based on the rubric. So going into tomorrow, we're not going in kind of with just the information we have now or our thoughts about, the candidates that we had going into this. I have notes about each of them, but things that stood out in relation to what I assumed that figured that the rubric would be, but now we have that. So we could assign some sort of a points system or something like that and rank candidates between now and tomorrow, a little bit of homework, but would maybe help us get to a place where we could be more be ready for those interviews and discussions tomorrow.
So Brittany, when you say we have the rubric, I just wanna make sure I'm looking at this correctly. So we kind of went through the different areas that we're gonna be, obviously.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that working selection criteria is what I'm talking about.
And a lot of that is gonna be also based on the interview, right? And how they answer the questions that are gonna be assigned to those. So are you suggesting that we go home and kind of just based on resume alone, just kind of saying, oh, from what I see, here's how I would kind of rank.
Yeah.
And then of course the follow-up questions may or may not answer it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, just wanna make sure.
Just a proposal. Okay, we have more information than we might, you know what I mean, like we have letters of interest and resumes in front of us, which is often how we evaluate, how I would often
Just wanted to clarify.
first blush candidate.
If I could just interject and make a suggestion, we of course don't have a heck of a lot of turnaround time between, tomorrow night, so, appreciate that suggestion. My thought would be you do have selection criteria, then if this would be the selection criteria we're gonna use, and you can kind of informally do your own, checking on that now that you know those are set, rather than, us trying to distribute and push out and create score sheets and all that kind of thing. I think for this pre-review that you do, maybe it's more of an informal basis, and I think the real question is, do you want to do a sort of 1 to 5 kind of categorization on this in a rubric form tomorrow night, or do you not? And that is, again, completely up to the board. There is no rule saying you have to use a rubric, there's no rule saying you can't use a rubric. So that's kind of what I think we would need direction on so that we know what to prepare for you. If it's to prepare, so that you each have 6 or whatever rubric sheets in front of you so you can score each candidate according to those, We certainly do that between now and then, but that's what we, I think, need to know. If you don't wanna go that direction, that's certainly fine too, and then you can, in the end, you just interview, and I've seen boards do it where they do that too. They just interview, and based on the candidate that resonates the most individually, and they feel the best about according to their selection criteria, then that's what they do.
Excuse me, John, losing my voice. Do you have any opinion on how we go about this?
I think that the rubric would be the way, the rubric would be the way to go, I think.
Okay.
Would be my choice.
I am open to whatever, honestly. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. Again, having not been through this, it's hard for me to say, oh, this really works or this doesn't work. I know professionally, in a business setting, having interviewed individuals for different positions, sometimes there's leanings and sometimes there isn't, and sometimes there are more important categories to demonstrate than others. But I am literally open to either way. Sometimes, many of you, I don't know, sometimes you just go on your gut feeling too, on what the best person is for the job, right? So I'm very open to whatever everybody wants to do, so.
Yeah, to be clear, Dirk, I was not suggesting that you or Michelle stay up all night tonight to create a rubric for tomorrow, so.
It'd be you
Sorry.
reading them and then scoring them and then going to work.
That's me up to.
So if I could just suggest, I think that there are some of these categories that would work very well to score 1 to 5, like for example, experience and skills. They either have relevant volunteer experience or prior board experience or community involvement, or they don't. But some of these, as far as communicating with openness, to listen and understand with curiosity, I think are much more difficult to quantify on a scale of 1 to 5. So I wouldn't want to make the criteria simply who scores the most points. I think that it should be at least a mix of both our overall impressions of the candidate as well as how closely they match our criteria that we've pre-selected.
Yeah, I personally don't need a rubric. I think I've had experience interviewing in the business world, and you have what you need and what you think is necessary, then it's how it presents, how the person presents, handles themselves one-on-one and with others, so. I think we're in a consensus that we'll kind of use a little bit of both, use our own rubric as a guide and do our own scoring and present the scores as you feel necessary in the discussion tomorrow. Unless there's
I just wanna be clear, so we'll provide then a sheet, but you can do your own kind of, however you want to rank them. We won't provide it as 1 to 5, you can do that on your own if you want to, but then those are individual notes for you. Okay, I just wanna be clear on that because, as we go through this process and as we, even go into record maintenance and stuff like that, individual notes are your individual notes and we would not need to collect them. If we do the official scoring kind of system, we would be collecting those and those would be maintained as records. So just as your information on that note as well. So we'll take the other approach, we'll just provide you with these, they can be used for your individual notes or whatever, and then we'll move forward from there. Okay, thank you.
That makes sense to me. Okay, now on to the interview questions. Over the weekend, I took the liberty of asking myself, how can we begin to condense 22 questions, maintain the spirit of the board, and I had 2 in mind. Michelle said, hey, let's take a look at this, and I agree. I think it's a good idea to take a crack at what it would be like to take those 22 and condense them into 6. I think she did a great job with it. That was today. As you know, we're on a fast pace. And wanted to hopefully tee this up a little bit so it'd be a little easier to have questions instead of being here for 3 hours and then have another long meeting tomorrow as we're debating which of the 22 questions we'd like, or there are others too that we can consider tonight. So, what do you think?
So we're referring to the final questions to consider,
Right.
right, okay. I reviewed that earlier today and there was one question. Oh, I think it was the judgment and use of evidence. Describe a time when you had to balance multiple viewpoints. I think it would be important, as one of the questions to, on the original set of questions, when we first got them, we kind of reviewed them all. And then if I recall, we went through and said, hey, how would you change this, or would you say this a little differently? Brittany, you had some awesome, by the way, some great suggestions on how to rephrase it. But there was one question in particular that I thought was, I really wanted it to be, is that what we're supposed to be discussing right now? Specific questions? Okay, I just wanna make sure and one was around just, basically, was there any decisions that were made by the board, whether that was the current board, past board, whatever, that you may or may not have agreed with? And in doing so, could you, describe that and then tell us how, you might have thought differently, or if it wasn't your viewpoint, for example, that you agreed with the board, how would you handle that? And, with the rest of your board members as far as, working together and communicating and that kind of thing. And I just think that question should still be on there. I see that it was specifically omitted on the final questions, but I think for me, that would be a question I'd want to bring back into the fold.
So this implies what questions are important to you, so.
Yeah.
Taking the 22 and smashing them into 6 may not transfer the spirit of the question you wanted to ask, or the questions you would suggest asking, so. We're certainly able to bring that in. Nothing's been decided. This is just an attempt at putting something together that might be a discussion point for us to consider. But if you have one in particular that you would like to have asked, and we can identify it, it's on the sheet, you see it's a mess, but
So do we do that via email to get a final, or is that something we do now, or how do we?
I think we should do it now. This is a portion of the meeting where we wanna nail down the questions.
Bear with me, I have to find it, so if somebody
Please
else wants
do.
to say something, feel free.
John, do you have any feedback?
Sorry, I was trying to turn the mic on. To me, the only, of these 6 questions, I think that they do a good job of getting at many of the points that we were trying to inquire to our candidates about. The one that, to me, that I don't know if it's going to help us differentiate between candidates, I guess, is this what steps would you take to grow in your knowledge of school board responsibilities, public education issues, work of the schools to become a more informed and effective board member. I think some of those, and I think part of why I think that is because some of the education is information that we give as a board and that our administration helps give, right? There's trainings out there, things like that. I don't know if somebody's gonna be able to share something as a response to that question that's going to be able to help us really see a ton of difference in kind of their approach and what that might look like. I might offer a friendly amendment to that question of, maybe being either kind of a reword of the question that Jessica was mentioning, that number 11 on the previous sheet. One of the reasons I like that question, and you can see with some of the suggestions I made for other questions, one of the things that I really tried to do is ask candidates to describe a time when they've had to approach a situation, some of the things that we've described in these questions in the past. To give an example, to me that helps differentiate A, experiences that people have had, and B, how they responded to some of those difficult situations. So I would love to see us ask a question where our candidates can give us back information that I think can help us really understand, okay, how did they communicate? What were those skills like? How did they listen to others? Where did they get that information? I think we can hear all of that from a candidate with a question more like that than maybe this one. So we'll just offer maybe changing it to something like that.
So it sounds like you'd like to see 11 as it was presented with your recommended edits, and I think, Sean, you two had commented on that in its original form was something you'd like to see asked.
I actually think H also kind of gets at that question, truthfully.
Yeah, which, that's the question Jessica's bringing up. It's the
Correct.
the final ones we have here, the spirit of it is in there. That's why it's, partial H, doesn't go into much detail.
Yeah.
As the list we had to choose from, but in a sense it's in there.
Yes, it's H, thank you. I'm like, where is this thing? Yes, it's H.
So do we want to consider H as it is written or with the, I believe it's Jennifer had amendments to that, or was that Brittany? There's two greens,
That
I
was
get
me.
different. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a closer, if I may
And
read.
then that, so then that would replace number 3, is that what we're?
That was my suggestion.
It's in that third, right?
With that said, I don't know that that's different enough from current question 5F.
And possibly too close to 2F also. Would we be comfortable replacing 2F and 5F with question H?
I would be good with that.
Yeah, I would too.
Tom says yes. Take a minute to read it through.
So that would be 2, 3, and 5. We would be replacing with F, so then that opens up the opportunity for other questions to be.
So before we move on, I will need to clarify. We're replacing 2F, 3F, and 5F with H? I just wanna make sure.
I think just 2F and 5F being replaced with H, but then Brittany had further discussed removing 3F because it may not help us differentiate between candidates.
Good clarification.
Do we need 6 questions? Or that was just an intention to have everyone have an opportunity to ask a question?
That was question chowder, so
I see.
bringing it all together. And I know we wanna keep these as specific as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're having this discussion and we're weeding out what we don't like.
Sure.
We don't like vote on that, right? We just kind of say, hey, we just agree to it.
We wanna make sure we're
Yeah,
in
all in
agreement with
agreement,
the
okay.
questions that are gonna be presented.
Okay, so can I just, so
Yes.
we wanna say 2F and 5F are being replaced with H. And then we're gonna remove 3F and potentially maybe add a question or two in addition to what we're already doing.
Yes.
Right now I have us at 4 questions, correct? I have us at 1F, 4F, 6F, and H, is that what I'm?
Mm-hmm.
And then aside from there. I'll point out that a couple of these are kind of multi-questions.
Yeah.
And, you know, like 1F could easily go to 2 questions. Be split right in the middle
Yeah, I
and
agree.
you could
Yeah.
create 2 questions out of that.
Agreed. That would be under the first category then.
actually think you could even kind of move that category or that question, that what qualities, experiences, or perspectives, you could move that to the kind of learning and board readiness category in my mind.
A lot of these, I think, overlap.
Move the second half, you said, to board readiness?
Yes.
I'll say, I like F, while pondering the document.
Which number?
F?
Which F?
Oh, you're at the original F?
The original
Oh.
F.
Sorry.
What do you believe are among the biggest challenges?
Which we would be maintaining as number four.
4F.
That's included in 4F
It is,
that we're keeping.
yes.
Oh, yeah. We didn't
For
talk
month 6,
about
I'd like to throw G back in there.
I think that's kind of in
same as-
6, 6F, I think, or similar, we could reword it, but. Maybe, part of it.
So currently we have 5 on the list then.
Mhm.
I would be comfortable with keeping it at 5, the 5 that we have listed. If we wanted to add additional, I like the sort of specific questions of like 3A and 5A, which have kind of been generalized when they got lumped together. At the same time, an interviewee could bring those topics up on their own, which would show us where their interest lies, so I'm fine not specifically asking.
I also am comfortable with the list of 5 questions, personally.
I am too, and again, there's always those little bit of follow-up questions for clarification that we always have to, like somebody may say something and then you're like, ooh, got another question about what you just said, so belaboring it and having 6 questions for the sake of 6 might not make sense, so I'm good with 5.
I could just add operatively too, I mean, if we're looking at 6 interviews of a half hour each, there really needs to be kind of a 5-minute at least buffer in the middle. Just so now you're really talking about kind of 25-minute-ish interviews, and so 5 questions allows for enough time for a candidate to express their perspectives, and you're not going over and so on.
My question is, how are we going to limit the answers to, or are we gonna just go if they have 25 minutes to a half hour, that's it, you're cut, or see this going long if we don't have some requirements to keep it moving?
Yeah, I think that should be expressed to the candidates at the start of their interview, is that we're looking to hold this to 25 minutes and we will move you along. And we want you though to have the opportunity to answer all of the questions we're gonna ask, but we have 5 questions and we go from there. Another thing, if we do want something to kind of wrap with, frequently in an interview, you do provide people with an opportunity to state, you know, at the end, if there's something that they weren't asked about, that they really feel passionate that they would like to express, you let them do that too. So that could be that kind of closing opportunity for them. Because I think there are a couple that makes great sense as intro questions, but that could be a closer.
So it sounds like we have our questions.
Alright, so I just wanna review so that Michelle can check and cause she can make sure she knows what she's doing here. So we're gonna use 1F and we're gonna split that into 2 questions. And then we are going to use 4F. We are going to use 6F. We are going to use H. And then like I just suggested, we could provide that opportunity at the end.
Everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, another question I wanna throw out to the group, so there are a couple ways you can go on this, we can try not to share these questions in advance, but I don't know if that's feasible or not, and perhaps sharing them in advance provides equal playing field for everybody to be prepared. That's a question we also need to answer here at this point.
I'll say personally, I think given the torrid pace that we're on and giving the amount of time that the candidates after tonight will know, I think it might be a good idea to share the questions in advance. But there's no right or wrong way, it's totally up to us as a board.
I mean, it's equal playing field either way. 5 of them, or all 6 of them don't know, or they do know. I'm kind of in favor of not knowing.
I'll just say, I just don't want there to be any blowback or accusation that somebody was getting fed information from the board who's seen the questions in advance and others didn't get it. That's the only concern I would have, just in the interest of openness, then everybody gets the same and they can speak to it. So that would be my only concern about not doing it. I personally also like to just ask people and get their reactions, but you know, in this process, that's an interesting process and it's a blend of public and not, that's where, I don't know. In a private setting and an employee setting, I for sure, yeah, we don't give them in advance, but.
Would it be a compromise almost where you can invite the applicants for the interview and then topically share with, these are the areas we're gonna kind of be focusing on. Maybe not give them the direct question, but at least they need to make sure that they're kind of thinking through some things before they get here.
So essentially to share the categories that these questions will be, question each, under each of the categories. That's an interesting, get you to think, yeah.
I mean, alternatively, we could share our selection criteria, because then they'll know what we're looking for in a response.
I think that along with what Jess is suggesting, the categories are part of the they're in each of the criteria for the most part. But yeah, I think that's another way of doing it.
I personally don't have a problem with sharing the questions ahead of time. Actually, it gives everyone a chance to prepare, think thoughtfully about what they want to say, and otherwise we do have, there will be some people sitting in the audience who are gonna hear the questions who, candidate, whoever comes first, didn't get the opportunity to kind of sit and formulate a little bit. The meeting will be held, obviously, in the same venue, so just thinking about it from that perspective, but
You're saying in this day and age of texting, there could be, yeah.
Well, just being at the meeting.
or just
if
being at the
you're-
meeting.
If you're,
Right.
if we choose 5,
We're
and you're
interviewing in
5th,
public,
you
yeah.
get to hear the answers of went through. So
Right, but we're interviewing them separately though, right?
Yeah.
And they're not gonna be in the same room at the same time, correct?
That would be my suggestion, that they report,
not all- yeah.
we'll have them in an area where they, would be waiting, and then we'll just have them report at different times so that they would come in, and then,
I did not realize that.
yeah, that would be my, just like a normal candidate
I see.
interview for any other position, that would be the way we
Yeah, I wanna be last,
do it.
for sure.
But I think that still makes it, there's still the opportunity for people in this day and age to communicate, so.
100%.
right, we're never gonna make it completely fair, but we can give it our best shot.
Okay, so I guess I just need to know, am I sending along all the questions, or are we just, doing sort of topics?
I am good either way, I can see both sides of it. I agree with Brittany on the fact of if we give them the info, or give them the questions, they can prepare. We are on a crunch time for, to let them interview, so that would be pro for me, but I could go either way. I'm okay either way.
I could see sharing the question categories along with the selection criteria as compromise and versus sending the full question set.
Categories. No political answers. One or the other.
All right, so I think what I will do, Mr. Morris, if it's okay, we'll try to put some things together and we'll run it by you, and then it'll probably be still tonight, just for your blessing on what we've worded as extrapolation out of this, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. I'll be looking for it. Okay, so now I believe we're at the point where we want to decide which candidates we'd like to make offers to interview tomorrow night. So I'll open that
So
up.
that motion is in 8B, if, it's the board's agenda, if we are ready to move to action items and ready to move to that, we'll do it, or we do the handbook first and then.
Alright, well, I think Superintendent Wheeldryer is right. We should probably come back to that as a motion in 8B. If you're okay with moving on and then holding that discussion and motions as an action item in 8B. If we're ready to do that. Feels like we are. Okay. Move on to action items number 8A, Student Handbook 2025 through 2026. Is there a motion?
I have a quick question. I just have a quick question. If I looked over the student handbook and it was, it was fine. In light of, there's other discussion throughout the year that there are things in the handbook that we feel would need to be changed for whatever reason, whether it's a law, whether it's, I don't know, whatever could come up. If we vote today, do we have the right to obviously revisit that to make sure and revise it if needed?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanna make sure, okay.
We're the ultimate authority when it comes to that sort of thing. Yes.
I move that the board accept the student handbooks as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the vote.
Collins,
Yes.
Cone, yes. Randall,
Yes.
Garber, Garcia,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes. I will, for the community's edification, let them know that we have reviewed this a time and a half, I believe you might call it. And we've seen the changes and have had a chance to review it. And we're not just voting on it without looking at it tonight. So just wanted to let everyone know that. Okay, on to action items 8B, board trustee candidate interview invitations.
We need names now, right? Yep.
Yeah, so at this point, we should use names in our.
Okay, here we go. I move that the board invite the following applicants to be interviewed on Tuesday, July 29, 2025, for the vacant board trustee position. Carrie Dykehouse, Brad Maslowski, Jim Crawley, Tammy Singleton, Bernie Nagel, and Kyle Clement.
Well, that would be five,
Six.
six.
right?
Sure.
Can we decide that? Speak on
Yes, the
microphone.
sixth, that's correct.
I don't have.
A second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion about those motions by Brittany to attend the interview? Seeing no further discussion? We call the vote.
Collins,
Yes.
Cone, yes. Brando,
Yes.
Robert Garcia,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Morris.
Morris votes yes. Motion carries. On to item 9, discussion of anticipated board considerations for the 18th of August regular meeting.
Yeah, so in preparation of this agenda, as President Morris and myself were working through this, we didn't want to get into deep discussions on other things tonight, not knowing how long this would go and knowing we had the prospect of additional stuff coming. So next month, we will have a committee of the whole meeting, which we did not have this month, and so we will be having a few things for you. One of the things that of course had a first reading, but we did not advance at this meeting because we wanted to have further discussion on, which we again didn't have a committee meeting to do, was our lengthy list of Neola policies that we had had the first reading of last month. So there will be those Neola policies, and we are still in development on some other things. So that's all I have for you at this point as far as things coming up on the 18th, but we will have, again, that committee meeting prior.
Okay, on to board comments. Any comments from board members? Well, I'd like to thank the candidates who applied and to those who didn't get a shot at interviewing. Your resumes were looked over thoroughly. It's a hard decision to take that down to so few. I had a hard time getting lower than 6, so we got very talented folks in our community that their hearts are in the right spot to represent our kids and staff, teachers, and the community well. So thank you very much. And to those who have applied, looking forward to reaching out to you, I believe tonight for sure, and hope all can make it tomorrow. We are also flexible to be able to offer the interview via Zoom for those that are traveling for whatever reason. We didn't want to exclude those that couldn't be here in person with this torrid pace that we're on. So I'll finish with that. Anyone else? Seeing none. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in.
Second.
Sorry, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for the second. Please call the roll.
That is not on here, so
I-
we have to do that.
We can voice vote for the more
Eyes,
efficient.
the eyes.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?